The great chamber of the Galactic Council stretched for nearly a mile in every direction. Its ceiling rose so high that clouds sometimes formed beneath the crystal dome. Thousands of seats filled the circular room, each one carved from stone brought from a different world. At the center stood a platform of pure white marble, and upon it sat the 7 High Arbiters who ruled the known galaxy. High Arbiter Zorath of the Velkari Dominion occupied the tallest chair. His gray skin caught the light from the twin suns that shone through the dome above. His 4 eyes moved slowly across the assembly, and when he spoke, his voice carried the weight of 3,000 years of galactic rule. "We gather today to discuss a matter of small importance," Zorath said. "A new species has been discovered on the outer rim. They call themselves humans." A wave of murmurs passed through the chamber. New species were found every few decades, and the process was always the same. The Council would send a fleet, the species would submit, and they would take their place at the bottom of galactic society. It had worked this way for longer than most could remember. Ambassador Krell of the Throvian Empire leaned forward in his seat. He was a massive creature, standing nearly 9 feet tall with thick scales covering his body. The Throvians were the military backbone of the Council, and Krell had personally overseen the integration of a dozen worlds. "What do we know of these humans?" Krell asked. His voice rumbled like distant thunder. A holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a small blue planet orbiting a yellow sun. The image zoomed in to reveal cities, vehicles, and the tiny figures of human beings going about their daily lives. "They are weak," said Delegate Silas of the Andori Collective. She was thin and pale, with large, dark eyes that seemed to absorb all light. The Andori were known for their intelligence and their cold logic. Our probes indicate they achieved interstellar travel only within the past century. Their fastest ships can barely reach 1/10 the speed of light. Their weapons are primitive. Their population is small. They pose no threat whatsoever. Zorath nodded slowly. "Then the matter is simple. We will send an integration fleet to bring them into the Council's embrace." The word embrace drew quiet laughter from several delegates. Everyone knew what integration meant. The humans would be given a choice: serve the Council willingly or be forced to serve. Either way, they would spend the next several centuries mining ore, building ships, and doing the work that the elder races consider beneath them. Ambassador Krell rose from his seat. "I request the honor of leading the integration fleet. The Throvian Empire has need of new laborers. Our mining colonies in the Veth system have experienced significant losses, and human bodies appear sturdy enough for the work." "How many ships will you require?" Zorath asked. Krell made a sound that might have been a laugh. "For a species this primitive? I will take 200 warships. It will be more than enough to crush any resistance and establish order within a single cycle." Delegate Silas studied the data scrolling across her personal display. "Our analysis suggests the humans will attempt to fight. They have a history of warfare among themselves. They are an aggressive species, though their aggression is meaningless given their technological limitations." "Let them fight," Krell said. "It will make the conquest more entertaining. And those who resist most strongly often make the most obedient servants once their spirit is broken." The chamber erupted in agreement. Voices called out from every section, each one eager to claim a portion of the new human workforce. The Valkyrie wanted them for factory labor. The Andori wanted them for scientific experiments. The Throvians wanted them for the mines. No one suggested treating them as equals. No one even considered the possibility. High Arbiter Zorath raised one of his 4 hands, and silence fell immediately. "We shall vote. All in favor of dispatching an integration fleet to the human homeworld?" Every hand in the chamber rose. Every voice spoke in agreement. The vote was unanimous, as it always was in matters like this. Zorath allowed himself a rare smile. "Then it is decided. Ambassador Krell, you will depart within 3 cycles. Bring the humans into our fold. Teach them their place in the natural order of things." Krell bowed his massive head. "It will be done, High Arbiter. I estimate the entire operation will take no more than 6 cycles. The humans will learn quickly, or they will suffer the consequences." As the council session ended, delegates began filing out of the chamber. They spoke among themselves about quotas and labor assignments, already dividing up the human population as if they were cattle at an auction. None of them noticed the small probe floating high above the crystal dome. None of them detected the transmission being sent across the vast emptiness of space, not far away. In a place the council did not know existed, that transmission was received. It was analyzed, translated, and delivered to a woman sitting behind a simple desk in a simple room. She read the report twice, then pressed a button on her console. "Get me Admiral Patterson," she said, "and wake up Captain Hayes. Tell him the council has finally made its move." On the bridge of a ship that officially did not exist, Captain Daniel Hayes received the message. He had been waiting for this moment for 15 years. His entire career had been building toward it. Every drill, every simulation, every sleepless night had prepared him for what was coming. He looked at the crew around him. They were young, but they were ready. They had trained for this scenario 1,000 times. "How long until the council fleet arrives?" he asked. 3 weeks at their maximum speed," his first officer replied. Hayes nodded slowly. 3 weeks. After 300 years of hiding, 300 years of watching and waiting and building in secret, humanity would finally reveal itself to the galaxy. "Begin preparations," he said quietly. "It's time to show the council what humans are really capable of." The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency. Somewhere in the darkness of space, 17 massive ships began powering up systems that had been dormant for decades. The council believed they were sending a fleet to conquer a primitive species. They had no idea they were walking into a trap that had been 3 centuries in the making. High Arbiter Zorath slept peacefully that night, dreaming of new territories and obedient servants. He would not sleep so well again for a very long time. Lieutenant Kyle Bennett sat alone in the observation room of Station Omega-7. The station floated at the edge of the solar system, far beyond the orbit of Pluto, in a region so cold and dark that most people forgot it existed. Kyle had been assigned here for 3 years, and in all that time, nothing interesting had ever happened. He was eating a sandwich when the alarm began to scream. Kyle dropped his food and ran to the sensor console. The screen showed something that made his blood turn cold. 200 contacts had appeared at the edge of his detection range. They were big, they were fast, and they were heading straight for Earth. "This is Station Omega-7 to Earth Command," Kyle said into his communicator. His voice was shaking. "We have incoming contacts." "Repeat, we have incoming contacts. 200 vessels, unknown configuration. They are not responding to standard hails." The response came within seconds. "Omega-7, this is Admiral Grace Patterson. We are receiving your data. Maintain observation and do not engage. Help is on the way." Kyle wanted to ask what kind of help could possibly stand against 200 alien warships, but he kept his mouth shut. He watched the contacts move closer, and he wondered if he would live to see another sunrise. Fleet. Commander Vorn stood on the bridge of his flagship. The crushing tide. He was the finest military commander the Throvian Empire had produced in 5 generations, and he was deeply bored. This mission was beneath him. Conquering a primitive species required no skill, no strategy, no real effort at all. It was like sending a master hunter to catch a sleeping rabbit. "How long until we reach the human homeworld?" Vorn asked. 4 hours at current speed, Commander, his navigation officer replied. Vorn grunted in annoyance. 4 more hours of waiting. He had hoped the humans might at least send a few ships to meet them, something to break the monotony of the journey. But his sensors showed nothing. The humans were either too stupid to detect his fleet or too cowardly to face it. Open a communication channel, Vorn ordered. Broadcast on all frequencies. Let these primitives know their new masters have arrived. The communication officer worked quickly. Channel open, Commander. Vorn straightened his posture and spoke in a voice that had made entire civilizations tremble. Attention, humans of the third planet. I am Fleet Commander Vorn of the Throvian Empire, servant of the Galactic Council. Your world has been selected for integration into the Council's domain. You will surrender immediately and completely. All resistance will be met with overwhelming force. Those who comply will be shown mercy. Those who resist will be destroyed. You have 1 hour to respond. He cut the channel and waited. The minutes passed slowly. No response came. Perhaps they did not understand, his communication officer suggested. Perhaps they are too primitive to operate their own equipment, Vorn replied with a cruel laugh. No matter. Their silence changes nothing. Continue the advance. The fleet moved forward, passing Neptune's orbit with arrogant confidence. Vorn was already planning how he would divide the human population among the various work camps. The strong ones would go to the mines. The intelligent ones would go to the factories. The rest would serve wherever they were needed. It was efficient. It was orderly. It was the way things had always been done. And something strange happened. Commander, the sensor officer said slowly, I am detecting an energy signature behind us. Vorn frowned. Behind us? That is impossible. We would have detected any vessels following us. It was not there a moment ago. It simply appeared. Vorn turned to face the main display. At first, he saw nothing unusual. Then he noticed a small dot on the screen, directly behind his fleet. The dot was growing larger. What is that? Vorn demanded. The sensor officer's hands were trembling as he adjusted his instruments. It appears to be a single vessel, Commander. But the readings make no sense. The energy output is... It is impossible. No ship can generate that much power. Show me. The display zoomed in on the contact. Vorn felt his breath catch in his throat. The vessel emerging from the darkness was unlike anything he had ever seen. It was massive, easily 12 kilometers long, with a hull of deep black metal that seemed to absorb the light of distant stars. Weapon ports lined its surface like scales on some ancient predator. It moved with a grace that seemed impossible for something so large. That cannot be human, Vorn whispered. Our intelligence said they were primitive. The vessel is hailing us, Commander. Vorn tried to compose himself. He was a Throvian warrior. He did not show fear. Put it through. A human face appeared on the screen. It was a male, middle-aged, with gray hair and calm eyes. He wore a simple uniform with no decorations except for a small patch showing a blue planet against a field of stars. Good afternoon, the human said. His voice was pleasant, almost friendly. My name is Captain Daniel Hayes, commanding officer of the Earth battleship Leviathan. I believe you, and I need to have a conversation. Fleet Commander. Vorn found his voice. You dare address me directly? You are a primitive species. You should be on your knees, begging for mercy. Captain Hayes smiled slightly. I understand your confusion. You came here expecting to find a weak and helpless civilization. I am afraid your intelligence was somewhat outdated. 1 ship means nothing against 200, Vorn growled. I do not care how large it is. You will be destroyed. Before you make any decisions you might regret, Hayes said calmly, I suggest you take a closer look at my vessel. And then I suggest you look at what else is appearing across your sensor grid. Vaughn turned to his sensor officer, who had gone completely pale. Commander, the officer said in a voice barely above a whisper, 16 more energy signatures have appeared. They are positioned around the entire solar system. Each one is as large as the first. Vaughn looked back at the human on his screen. Captain Hayes was still smiling. Now then, Hayes said softly, shall we talk about what happens next? Captain Daniel Hayes stood on the bridge of the Leviathan with his hands clasped behind his back. Around him, his crew worked in perfect silence. They had trained for this moment their entire lives. Their parents had trained for it. Their grandparents had built the very ship they stood upon. 300 years of preparation had led to this single conversation. Commander Maria Santos, his first officer, stood beside him. She was a small woman with dark hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had served with Hayes for 12 years, and she knew him better than anyone alive. The Council fleet has stopped advancing, she reported quietly. They seem uncertain. Hayes nodded. Good. Uncertainty is better than stupidity. Give them a moment to think. On the main display, Fleet Commander Vaughn's face showed a mixture of anger and confusion. The Throvian was trying to understand what had gone wrong with his simple conquest. Hayes almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Your tricks do not impress me, Vaughn said finally. You may have hidden a few ships from our sensors, but numbers mean nothing if your technology is inferior. The Council has ruled this galaxy for 3,000 years. You are children playing at war. Hayes took a slow breath before responding. Fleet Commander, I am going to share some information with you. I hope you will listen carefully, because it may save the lives of everyone under your command. You threaten me. No, I am trying to help you avoid a terrible mistake. Hayes gestured to his tactical officer. Chief Cole, please transmit our historical database to the Council fleet. Let them see the truth. Chief Nathan Cole, a young man with steady hands and a genius for weapon systems, entered the command. Across the void of space, every ship in the Council fleet received the transmission simultaneously. The data showed everything. It showed human scientists discovering faster-than-light travel 300 years ago, not 1 century as the Council believed. It showed the construction of the first Leviathan-class battleship 250 years ago. It showed generations of humans living in hidden bases throughout the galaxy, watching the Council, learning their weaknesses, preparing for the day when they would need to defend themselves. This is a lie, Vaughn said, but his voice had lost its confidence. It is not a lie, Hayes replied. We found you before you found us, Commander. We watched how you treated species you considered inferior. We saw the slavery, the exploitation, the cruelty. We knew that if we revealed ourselves too soon, we would suffer the same fate. Commander Santos stepped forward slightly. So we hid. We built. We prepared. And we waited for you to come to us. Vaughn's scales had turned a pale shade of gray. If you have been watching us for so long, why did you not attack? Why did you not conquer us first? It was a question Hayes had expected. Because we are not like you. Humanity does not seek to dominate others. We do not believe in slavery or conquest. We simply wish to live in peace. But we are also not willing to become your servants. The Council will never accept this. You will be hunted. You will be destroyed. Hayes smiled sadly. Fleet Commander, I want you to look at your sensor readings one more time. Tell me what you see. Vaughn turned to his sensor officer, who was staring at his display with wide eyes. Commander, the officer said, I am receiving reports from across the Council network. Human vessels have appeared near every major Council world. Velkar, Prime, Throv, Andor, all of them. They are not attacking. They are simply there. 17 ships total, Hayes confirmed. one near each of the major council homeworlds. They have been there for the past 6 hours. Your government simply did not detect them until we chose to reveal ourselves. The bridge of the crushing tide had gone completely silent. Every crew member understood what this meant. While their fleet had been traveling to Earth, thinking themselves hunters, they had already been surrounded. The humans had not been caught off guard. They had been waiting. "Here is what is going to happen," Hayes said, his voice still calm and measured. "You are going to contact High Arbiter Zorath and inform him of the situation. You are going to explain that humanity has no desire for war, but we will defend ourselves if necessary. And then you are going to withdraw your fleet from our solar system. And if I refuse?" Hayes nodded to Chief Cole. "Show them." The Leviathan's weapon systems came online. Energy readings spiked across every sensor in the Council fleet. The power output was beyond anything the aliens had ever encountered. A single ship was generating more energy than their entire fleet combined. "Our weapons are locked onto every vessel in your formation," Chief Cole reported. "We can destroy your entire fleet in approximately 90 seconds. Vorn stared at the human captain. "You would not dare. The Council would respond with the full force of our military." "Your military is currently surrounded by our ships," Hayes replied. "And before you consider that option, you should know something else. The Leviathan and her sister ships are our old vessels. Our new ships are considerably more powerful. We have not shown those to you yet." Commander Santos watched the Throvian carefully. She could see the moment his pride finally broke. His shoulders slumped. His eyes dropped. He had come here expecting an easy victory, and instead, he had found himself completely outmatched. "What guarantees do we have that you will not attack our worlds?" Vorn asked quietly. "You have our word," Hayes said. "I know that may not mean much to you, given how the Council treats its promises. But humans value honor. We do not strike first. We do not enslave. We do not conquer. All we ask is to be left in peace." There was a long silence. Then Vorn spoke the words that would change galactic history forever. "I will contact the High Arbiter." Hayes allowed himself to relax slightly. "Thank you, Fleet Commander. I believe this is the beginning of a very different relationship between our peoples." As the communication ended, Commander Santos turned to her captain. "Do you think they will actually negotiate?" Hayes looked out at the stars beyond the bridge windows. "They have no choice. For 3,000 years, the Council has ruled through fear and force. Today, they have learned that they are not the most powerful civilization in the galaxy. That knowledge will change everything." The Leviathan hung in the darkness of space, patient and powerful. Humanity had finally stepped out of the shadows. High Arbiter Zorath sat in his private chamber, staring at the holographic display before him. The images showed the human battleship Leviathan dwarfing the Council fleet like a whale among minnows. He had watched the recording 7 times now, and each time he felt the same cold sensation spreading through his chest. This was impossible. It should not be happening. The Council had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. They had conquered hundreds of species. They had built an empire that stretched across 10,000 worlds. And now a single primitive species had revealed itself to be more powerful than everything the Council had ever achieved. His communication device chimed. It was Ambassador Krell, calling from the Throvian homeworld. "Tell me you have a plan," Krell said the moment the connection opened. "Tell me we are going to crush these humans and restore order." Zorath shook his head slowly. "There is a human vessel orbiting Throv at this very moment. There is one orbiting Velkar Prime. There is one near every major Council world. We cannot attack them without leaving our homeworlds defenseless. Then we call their bluff. One ship cannot stand against our planetary defense systems. Can it not? Zorath pulled up the energy readings from the Leviathan. Look at these numbers, Krell. A single human vessel generates more power than our entire defensive network. If they wanted to destroy us, they could have done so already. Krell's scales rippled with frustration. Then what do? Surrender? Become their servants? The Throvian Empire has never bowed to anyone. The humans are not asking us to bow, said a new voice. Delegate Silas of the Andorite Collective had joined the communication. Her pale face was calm as always, but Zorath could see something new in her dark eyes. It looked like respect. They are asking us to negotiate, to treat them as equals. In 3,000 years, no species has ever made such a request from a position of strength. Equals? Krell spat the word like poison. They are barely a step above animals. Our ancestors were building starships while theirs were living in caves. And yet they now have technology that surpasses our own, Silas replied. The Andorite Collective has analyzed their energy signatures. Their ships use a power source we do not understand. Their weapons operate on principles we cannot explain. Whatever we believed about humans was wrong. At that moment, a new transmission arrived. It was Fleet Commander Vorn, calling from the crushing tide. "High Arbiter," Vorn said. His voice was different now. The arrogance was gone, replaced by something that sounded almost like shame. The human captain has offered a demonstration of their capabilities. He wishes to show us what their weapons can do without harming any of our vessels. A demonstration? Zorath repeated. He says it will help us understand the situation more clearly. Zorath considered for a moment. Part of him wanted to order Vorn to attack, to prove that the council would not be intimidated by anyone. But a larger part of him recognized the danger. If the human claims were true, such an attack would end in total destruction. Very well, Zorath said. Allow the demonstration. Record everything. What happened next would be studied by military experts for generations. The Leviathan moved forward slowly, positioning itself at the center of the council fleet. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a single point of light appeared on the ship's hull, growing brighter and brighter until it was painful to look at. A beam of pure, white energy shot through the heart of the council formation. It passed between the ships with impossible precision, missing each vessel by exactly 50 meters. The beam continued for nearly 1,000 kilometers before fading into nothing, leaving behind a corridor of superheated plasma that glowed like a newborn star. That, came Captain Hayes' voice over the communication channel, was our smallest weapon firing at its lowest power setting. I trust the message is clear. On Velkar Prime, High Arbiter Zorath watched the recording in stunned silence. The beam had passed through his fleet like a sword through smoke. If the humans had wanted to destroy those ships, they could have done so in the blink of an eye. Instead, they had chosen to show mercy. Why? Zorath whispered to himself. Why did they not simply destroy us when they had the chance? Delegate Silas answered the question. Because they are not like us. The Andorite have studied human history extensively. They are capable of great violence, but they do not seek it. They fight only when they must. They build rather than destroy. They cooperate rather than dominate. We assumed they were primitive because they had not conquered their neighbors. We did not consider that they simply chose not to. Ambassador Krell slammed his fist against his desk. This changes nothing. We are the Galactic Council. We do not negotiate with lesser species. They are not lesser, Silas said quietly. That is what you still do not understand. They are more powerful than us. They have been more powerful than us for centuries. And instead of using that power to enslave us, they are offering us peace. Zorath closed his 4 eyes and thought about everything he had believed for his entire life. The Council's strength, the natural order of the galaxy, the right of the powerful to rule the weak. All of it had been shattered in a single day by a species they had dismissed as animals. "Contact Captain Hayes," Zorith said finally. Tell him the Council wishes to discuss terms." "Terms of surrender?" Krell asked bitterly. "Terms of peace," Zorith corrected. "The humans were right about one thing. The way we have treated other species was wrong. Perhaps it is time for a new way." The communication ended. Zorith sat alone in the darkness, watching the stars through his window. Somewhere out there, a human ship was watching him, waiting to see what choice he would make. For the first time in 3,000 years, the Galactic Council had been humbled. And somehow, impossibly, the species that had humbled them was offering them a second chance. Zorith did not know if he deserved such mercy, but he was wise enough to accept it. 1 month had passed since the day the Council's pride had fallen. The galaxy was still adjusting to the new reality. On 1,000 worlds, people looked up at the stars and wondered what would happen next. For the first time in 3,000 years, the future was uncertain. Ambassador Linda Morris stood at the entrance to the great chamber of the Galactic Council. She was a tall woman with silver hair and steady hands. She had spent her entire career preparing for this moment, studying alien languages, learning diplomatic protocols, understanding the complex relationships between the Council species. Now she was about to become the first human to officially address the Galactic Assembly. Captain Daniel Hayes walked beside her. He had refused to wear formal diplomatic clothing, choosing instead his simple naval uniform. The patch on his shoulder showed a blue planet against a field of stars, the same symbol he had worn when he faced down Fleet Commander Vorn. "Are you nervous?" Hayes asked quietly. Linda smiled. "I have been waiting for this my whole life. My grandmother helped design the Leviathan. My mother commanded one of the hidden bases in the asteroid belt. This is what my family has worked toward for generations. How could I be nervous?" The great doors opened before them. The chamber beyond was even larger than Linda had imagined. Thousands of seats rose in circles around the central platform, each one filled with a representative from a different world. At the center sat the 7 High Arbiters, their faces a mixture of curiosity, fear, and grudging respect. High Arbiter Zorith rose as the humans entered. His 4 eyes studied them carefully. "Ambassador Morris, Captain Hayes, welcome to the Galactic Council." Linda walked to the center of the platform, her footsteps echoing in the vast space. She could feel thousands of eyes watching her every movement. These were the beings who had planned to enslave her people. These were the beings who had dismissed humanity as primitive animals. Now they waited in silence to hear what she had to say. "I, Arbiter Zorith," Linda began, her voice clear and strong, "honored delegates of the Council. I come before you today not as a conqueror, not as a judge, and not as an enemy. I come as a representative of humanity, seeking to build a future where all species can live in peace and dignity." A murmur passed through the chamber. This was not what they had expected. They had prepared themselves for demands, for threats, for the same treatment they had given to others for thousands of years. Instead, they found an open hand. "For 3 centuries," Linda continued, "humanity watched the Council from the shadows. We saw your power and your achievements. We also saw your cruelty and your injustice. We saw how you treated species you considered beneath you. We knew that if we revealed ourselves too soon, we would suffer the same fate." She paused, letting her words sink in. "So we hid. We built. We prepared. And we hoped that when the moment came, we would be strong enough to protect ourselves. That moment has arrived. But strength alone is not enough. Power without wisdom is destruction. Force without mercy is tyranny." High Arbiter Zorith leaned forward in his seat. "What do you propose, Ambassador?" Linda reached into her coat and withdrew a small data crystal. I propose a new charter for the Galactic Council, one based on equality rather than dominance. One where every species, regardless of their technology or population or history, has the same rights and the same voice. One where slavery is forbidden, where conquest is prohibited, and where disputes are settled through negotiation rather than force. The chamber erupted in noise. Some delegates shouted in protest. Others called out questions. A few simply sat in stunned silence. Ambassador Krell rose from his seat, his massive form towering over those around him. "You ask us to abandon 3,000 years of tradition," Krell said. "You ask us to give up everything that made us great." "No," Linda replied calmly. "I ask you to become something greater. The Council has achieved remarkable things. You have built ships that cross the galaxy. You have created technology that would seem like magic to your ancestors. But you have done all this on the backs of those you enslaved. Imagine what you could achieve if every species in the galaxy worked together as equals. Imagine the possibilities." Delegate Silas of the Andorite Collective spoke next. Her voice was soft, but it carried through the entire chamber. The Andorite have calculated the logical outcomes of both paths. If we continue as we have, humanity will eventually be forced to destroy us in self-defense. If we accept their proposal, we may lose our pride, but we will gain something far more valuable. We will gain a future. The debate continued for hours. Old grievances were aired. Ancient fears were expressed. But slowly, gradually, something began to change. The delegates began to listen to each other. They began to consider possibilities they had never imagined before. Finally, High Arbiter Zorath raised his hand for silence. "We have heard many arguments today. Now it is time to vote. All those in favor of accepting humanity's proposal for a new charter." Linda watched as hands rose throughout the chamber. First a few, then dozens, then hundreds. When the count was finished, the result was clear. The council had chosen a new path. Zorath turned to Linda with an expression she could not quite read. "Ambassador Morris, the council accepts your proposal. From this day forward, humanity will be recognized as a full and equal member of the galactic community. And the charter you have presented will become the foundation of a new era." Linda signed the document with a steady hand. As she did, she thought about all the generations of humans who had worked in secret to make this moment possible. Her grandmother, who had sacrificed everything to build the Leviathan. Her mother, who had spent her life hiding in the darkness of space. All the engineers and soldiers and scientists who had given their lives for a dream they would never see fulfilled. After the ceremony, Captain Hayes found Linda standing alone near a window. She was looking out at the stars with tears in her eyes. "We did it," she said softly. "We actually did it." Hayes stood beside her. "Your grandmother would be proud." "I hope so. I hope they are all proud." She wiped her eyes and smiled. "What happens now, Captain?" Hayes considered the question carefully. "Now the real work begins. Changing laws is easy. Changing hearts is much harder. It will take generations to undo 3,000 years of cruelty. There will be setbacks. There will be struggles. But at least now we have a chance." Delegate Silas approached them quietly. Her dark eyes studied Hayes with open curiosity. "I have a question for you, Captain. Something I have been wondering since our first encounter." "Ask," Hayes said. "You could have destroyed us. You could have become the new rulers of the galaxy. You had the power to do anything you wanted. Why did you choose mercy instead?" Hayes was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was soft but certain. "My grandmother used to tell me a story. She said that the measure of a civilization is not how it treats the powerful, but how it treats the weak. We spent 300 years hiding because we were afraid of becoming like you, cruel, arrogant. blind to the suffering we caused. When the moment came, we had to prove that we were different. We had to prove that power does not have to corrupt. We had to prove that humanity deserved to stand among the stars. Silas nodded slowly. The Andori have studied thousands of species throughout the galaxy. I have never encountered one quite like yours. You are a contradiction, capable of great violence, yet devoted to peace. Hiding in fear for centuries, yet brave enough to face an empire. I do not fully understand you, but I believe I would like to. She extended her thin hand in a gesture of friendship. Hayes took it. Outside the window, the stars burned with ancient light. Somewhere among them, the Leviathan and her sister ships kept their silent watch. They had been built for war, but today they had won something far more valuable. They had won a future where no species would ever be enslaved again, and for the first time in 3,000 years, the galaxy looked forward instead of back.